Wow, it's the weekend at last. But it's been quite a week, and personally, I'm looking forward to just going into the studio and working quietly for several hours on my paintings because it's been a big week. What came to mind, of course, is what about supper? Something easy. So I consulted my Pop It in the Toaster Oven cookbook, a really good reference for anybody with a toaster oven. And I came across a recipe that I'd written called Empty the Refrigerator Roasted Vegetables. And because haven't been to the grocery store, and so I have a lot of leftovers and remnants of things in the refrigerator, I thought this would be ideal. Looked in the refrigerator, found some really good candidates for this recipe. And so I'm going to show you how to make empty the refrigerator roasted vegetables. And basically it's like any of the other toaster oven recipes that I have in this book. You assemble all the ingredients, put them all together in the baking pan, put the baking pan or casserole dish in the toaster oven and let it bake, and in a matter of, in this case it would be 50 minutes total time. It is first thing I'm going to do is preheat my toaster oven to 400 degrees. Then I'm going to show you the ingredients I've assembled. When an occasion like this arises, what do you have in your refrigerator? A couple pieces of cauliflower, maybe some cheese, a piece of chicken, some eggplant. Anything is a candidate. I have done this recipe, I think probably 5 or 6 times, and it has always turned out a really nice baked dish. So I don't think you can go wrong. Just get those vegetables or whatever you have in there, assemble them in the baking dish, and pop it in the toaster. So look at this. This is really pretty, what I found. It's like a little still life. I found some cabbage, some broccoli, a couple carrots there, zucchini, a couple pieces of green bell pepper. And then in the recipe, I suggest 2 cloves of garlic for flavoring. And then also over here, I have assembled 3 tablespoons of white wine, 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Again, you can use any olive oil, any oil you want. I prefer cold press olive oil. And any kind of wine, or if you want to skip the wine, the balsamic vinegar would be good, or any flavoring that you like. So this is kind of a freewheeling thing. Over here I have a baking dish, a 1-quart baking dish. And then over here, just the freshly ground pepper and salt that I will be using. I suggest also for this recipe the 2 tablespoons of fresh oregano, 2 tablespoons of fresh parsley, and 2 tablespoons of fresh basil, all chopped, which I'm going to do. And I'm going to chop everything up into small pieces. If you don't have any fresh herbs, dried, whatever you have in your spice cabinet will be fine. So now I'm going to chop all of these vegetables up, and I'm looking for probably about 3 cups, whatever will fit in that quart casserole will be just fine. Wow, so there is all of the vegetables chopped up finely. It's just beautiful. It still looks really nice. And then I have my fresh herbs over here that are smelling just wonderful. So I'm going to add those. The parsley, the basil, and the oregano. And then I'm going to add some freshly ground pepper, my 2 tablespoons of olive oil, my 3 tablespoons of white wine. I think this is like a Chardonnay. And then I'm going to mix it around really good. And then I'm going to add about a half a teaspoon of salt. And then I'm going to cover this dish with foil just tighten it on there really nicely. The reason why, and I've explained this before, but a casserole dish usually has a domed lid that will not fit into the toaster and into the 400-degree toaster oven. It goes, and in the book I say 25 minutes or until the vegetables or whatever you're baking are tender. And because this is sort of freewheeling, you're going to check, I'm going to check after 25 minutes. The time may change for you depending on what you're using, what you've found in your refrigerator, and how finely you've chopped it. So I'm going to set the timer for 25 minutes and then check it to see if everything is done. Okay, the vegetables after 25 minutes are just about done. And actually this dish is going to go in again for another 10 minutes. And on the recipe, I have said broil for 10 minutes or until toasted nicely brown. I have been inspired. I found some breadcrumbs and some Parmesan cheese in my refrigerator that I think I'm going to top this with and then put it into bake for 10 more minutes, and we'll see what happens. All right, so I have some Parmesan cheese here. It's grated. How much is this? Maybe a quarter of a cup, I think. A little bit more. And then I'm going to put the breadcrumbs on too. This should be quite lovely. I love experimenting like this. Come up with a whole bunch of new and beautiful dishes this way. Okay, now that I have those inspirational toppings on, back into the oven at bake. I'm going to keep everything just the same, 400 for, let's say, 10 minutes. Well, that was 10 minutes uncovered, and it smells absolutely wonderful. I think the inspiration of the Parmesan cheese and the topping really adds something. You will probably get inspired too. Look in your refrigerator. So, what's in your refrigerator? A lot of odds and ends, stuff that you don't know what to do with. Cut it all up, put it in a baking dish. Season it with spices, add a little wine or a sauce of some sort, some oil, salt and pepper, and bake it.